Hi everyone. So today's topic is on the organs of government. जैसे प्रीवियस लेक्चर में मैंने आपको बताया था स्टेट और स्टेट के एलिमेंट्स, तो स्टेट के एलिमेंट्स में गवर्नमेंट इज अ पार्ट ऑफ दैट। तो आज के लेक्चर में हम जानेंगे कि गवर्नमेंट क्या और क्या उसके ऑर्गन्स होते हैं। गवर्नमेंट गवर्निंग प्रोसेस होता है and it is the use of power derived from the law that is approved by the legislature. So जो methods, manners और system of governing society और organization है, that is called a governing part. Government is one of the most essential attributes of a state. We cannot have a clear idea about a state without it. तो बिना government के state नहीं हो सकती. Burke has said government is one of the inventions of human knowledge through which the human being fulfills his desire. So ये three organs government के हैं, legislature, executive and judiciary. Legislature में laws बनते हैं, executive implement करती है and judiciary conduct करती है independently. So today's lecture we're going to be on these organs in details. Legislature is the primacy belongs to the legislature जो function है that begins by law making and is follow up by law enforcement and adjudication functions. So जो legislature है वो first organ of the government है. It means a body which legislates. The term lego means law and lature means the place, and etymologically legislature means a place for law making. तो legislature का मतलब है एक ऐसी place जहां law को बनाया जाता है, एक draft making होता है. Another term which is used as a synonym of legislature, parliament, जिसे हम parliament कहते हैं. Parliament में where members debate, discuss on a deliberate topic, वहां पर वो laws बनाते हैं for the people, for the state, for the country. So that is another name of the legislature, parliament. In this way we can say parliament, the place where deliberations are held. Combining the two views, we can say the legislature of parliament is that branch of government जो perform करती है law making का function, and it enjoys a very special and important role in every democratic state. So it is the assembly of the elected representatives of the people and represents national public opinion and power of the people. So legislature को parliament भी कहा जाता है और legislature enjoy करती है important role democratic state में. उसमें elected representatives होते हैं जो people को represent करते हैं और उनके लिए national public opinion और power of the people पे work out करते हैं. Here are the functions of a legislature. Legislature, as I say, कि law making function है, उसका जो first और foremost function है, that is to legislate, that is to make laws. So law use किए जाते हैं, as in ancient times law use किए जाते थे जो custom, tradition और religious scriptures पे होते थे, जो issue किए जाते थे by the kings as they command. But आज के era में, or in the era of democracy, legislature is the chief source of law. It is the legislature which formulates the will of the state into laws and gives it a legal character. So एक legal character, legalization legislature के through आया. So legislature transformed the demand of the people into authoritative laws and statutes. Deliberative functions. These are the functions of legislature जो determine करते हैं on the matters of national importance, public issues, और these function reflect the public opinion over various issues. Financial control किया जाता है. The legislature of the state is the custodian of the national purse. No money can be raised or spent by the executive without the approval of the legislature. तो legislature का इतना hold होता है कि वो law make तो करता ही है, जो भी expenditure है, income and overall, वो through legislature से ही pass होता है. So no money can be raised or spent by the executive without the approval of the legislature. So the legislature maintains a control over all financial transaction and expenditure incurred by the executive. Control over the executive, as I told, कि executive को लेना पड़ता है परमिशन फ्रॉम द लेजिस्लेचर टू हाउ टू डिस्पोज ऑल दिस. सो जो मॉडर्न लेजिस्लेचर है हैज द पावर टू एक्सरसाइज कंट्रोल ओवर द एग्जीक्यूटिव. In a parliamentary system of government like the one which is at work in India, for all its action, decision and policy, the executive is collectively responsible before the legislature. तो कोई भी step लेने से पहले executive को have to take the permission from the legislature. So it is accountable before the legislature. The legislature has a power to remove the executive by passing a vote of no confidence or by rejecting a policy or budget or law of the executive. So legislature के पास ये दो powers हैं कि वो reject भी कर सकते हैं policy और budget को, and they can even have a against of the law of the executive. The Prime Minister and all other ministers are essentially the members of the legislature. They are bound by the rules and procedures of the parliament. तो ये दोनों essential members हैं legislature के. In a presidential form of government like the one which is at work in the USA, the legislature exercise some checks over the executive. So it can appoint investigation committees, ये चेक करने के लिए कि गवर्नमेंट में कुछ करप्शन डिपार्टमेंट में ना हो रहा हो. By the use of its power to legislate and pass the budget, the legislature exercise a fair amount of control over the executive. So it has a control over the executive also. Constitutional functions. In almost every state, it is the legislature which has the power to amend the constitution. So constitution को amend legislature कर सकता है. It only has the power to make an amendment in the constitution. This is said, and in some state the requirement is that कि जो legislature है must pass the amendment with 2/3 or 3/4 or an absolute majority of votes. UGC नेट एग्जाम में ये बहुत बार ऐसे टाइप के क्वेश्चन पूछे गए हैं. तो थ्रू दिस लेक्चर आई विल डेफिनेटली क्लियर आउट कि कैसे अमेंडमेंट हो सकता है और अमेंडमेंट के लिए कौन से पॉलिसी मतलब कौन से टर्म्स रिक्वायर्ड किए जाते हैं. तो अमेंडमेंट कैन ओनली बी डन बाय द लेजिस्लेचर. मेक श्योर दिस पॉइंट. और लेजिस्लेचर जब भी पास कर सकता है अमेंडमेंट व्हेन 2/3 or 3/4 or an absolute majority of votes be there for that amendment. Electoral functions. So जो legislature है usually perform करता है some electoral function also. जो two house हैं of Indian Parliament elect the vice president. All elected MPs and MLAs from the electoral college which elects the president of India. Judicial function, it is a customary to give some judicial power in the legislature. Usually legislature is assigned to act as a court impeachment. तो legislature के पास power होता है court impeachment करने का. In India, Union Parliament can impeach the President. It has also the power to pass a resolution for the removal of leaders of the Supreme Court and the High Court on the ground of misbehavior or incapacity. So ventilation of grievances भी है. क्यों? क्योंकि grievances can be addressed by the legislature. Parliament debate and discussion through a floodlight over various issues of public importance. तो जो legislature के through ही draw out किया जाता है what grievances to be addressed and how to resolve these grievances. Miscellaneous function जो थे legislature के हैं that is assigned specific executive task जैसे US and has the power to confirm or reject the major appointments. जो major appointment किए गए हैं वो confirm और reject करने का power भी उन्हीं के पास होता है. And in India राज्यसभा has been given the power कि कैसे establish और eliminate करना है कोई भी all India service को. Legislature perform करता है वो सब फंक्शन जो अप्रूव और रिजेक्टिंग में होता है, अमेंडिंग ऑल द पॉलिसीज एंड प्लान्स मेड बाय द एग्जीक्यूटिव. सो जो अमेंडमेंट्स जो पॉलिसीज एग्जीक्यूटिव करते हैं प्लान वो लेजिस्लेचर के पास उसको पावर है वो रिजेक्ट करने की या अप्रूव करने की. तो रिजेक्टिंग एंड अप्रूविंग का जो पावर है वो लेजिस्लेचर्स के अंडर होता है. Thus, the legislative organ of the government play a very important role and active role in the exercise of the sovereign power of the state. In fact, the legislature is a legal sovereign in the state. It has the power to transform any decision of the state into a law. तो legislature के पास इतना power होता है कि वो कोई भी decision को state का into law convert कर सकता है. As I told कि amendments का भी right legislature के अंडर ही आता है. Legislature is the chief source of law. It is the mirror of national public opinion and the symbol of the power of the people. तो दो टाइप की legislature होती है bicameral and unicameral. Bicameral में दो levels central और state level आता है. Central level में राज्यसभा और लोकसभा as we all know about that और state level में विधानसभा and विधान परिषद. सो हमारे 6 states में bicameral is there, legislature bicameral practice होता है और और स्टेट्स में यूनिकैमरल लेजिस्लेचर्स है. So here is the role कि जो bicameral mean there is a two house as I told कि कौन से two houses होते हैं bicameral में. Unicameral only consists of one house. India, USA, UK, France, Russia, these all are a large number of other states have bicameral legislature. But India में दोनों unicameral और bicameral दोनों legislatures हैं. And we have both as well as unicameral legislature at the state level. और India में 7 states have bicameral legislature. Andhra Pradesh, UP, Karnataka, Telangana, these all the 7 states which consist of bicameral legislature. Executive का role or function is that कि it implement the laws. ये second important organ है government का, and it enacts the laws and executive implements them. तो कैसे implement करना है उन laws को वो executive के अंदर आता है. Dr. Ganwal explaining the meaning of the executive said कि जो broad or collective sense executive organ embraces the aggregate or totality of all the functionaries which are concerned with the execution of the will of the state as that will have been formulated and expressed in terms of law. So according to it, Dr. Garner said कि जो head of the state है, council of minister and all other officials who implement the laws are included in the executive. Executive के time में ये तीनों included होते हैं. If the word executive is used in a narrow sense, it will include only the president and the council of minister and the officials are not included in it. But generally term executive is used in a narrow sense and it includes key head of the state हो, council of ministers हो उसके who are required to implement the laws and make policies for running the administration of the state. तो 4 types के executive होते हैं. So nominal and real executive. In many countries जो head of the state होता है उसके पास nominal powers होते हैं and the nominal जो head of the state होता है that is president in India and जो real powers होते हैं that is with prime minister. So the president of India has been given many powers in the constitution yet in actual practice these powers are exercised by his minister. So there is a nominal executive in India. सिंगल एंड प्लूरल टाइप्स ऑफ एग्जीक्यूटिव. सिंगल एग्जीक्यूटिव का मतलब ये है कि वो एग्जीक्यूटिव पावर जो ऑलरेडी एक हेड ऑफ द स्टेट के पास है एंड द प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ अमेरिका एक्सरसाइज ऑल एग्जीक्यूटिव पावर्स. तो वो सिंगल एग्जीक्यूटिव पावर्स उसी के पास हैं, सारे पावर्स अंडर दैट हेड ऑफ द स्टेट रिलाई आउट करते हैं. And the chairman of his council has no additional power. Thus, all the 7 members are equally responsible for the administration in that country. इस type के executive को plural executive कहते हैं. Single when the power vested on one hand of the state. और जो plural types of executives होते हैं is like कि जो chairman और जो council members हैं उनको भी equally responsible किया जाएगा for that administration in that country. That is called plural executive. Parliamentary and presidential types of executive. The cabinet is responsible to the legislature. So this system is functioning in England, France, Japan and Sri Lanka, Denmark, all these countries where the president is the head of the state and he has real executive powers and is not responsible to the parliament. So the system will be known as the presidential type of executive. जब वो प्रेसिडेंट जिसके अंडर पावर्स हैं वो रिस्पॉन्सिबल नहीं होगा टू द पार्लियामेंट तो उसको प्रेसिडेंशियल टाइप ऑफ एग्जीक्यूटिव कहते हैं क्योंकि ओनली द प्रेसिडेंट इज रूलिंग ओवर देयर. दिस सिस्टम इज फंक्शनिंग इन द यूएसए, ब्राजील एंड सम अदर कंट्रीज ऑफ साउथ अमेरिका. द प्रेसिडेंट इज इलेक्टेड फॉर अ फिक्स टाइम एज वी ऑल नो कि 5 years के लिए उनको एक फिक्स टेन्योर होता है उनका इलेक्टेड का एंड टू प्ले और टू expose their powers in country and he can be removed only through an impeachment. Hereditary and elective executive. तो यहाँ पर hereditary और elective executive उनको कहा गया है when a king is the head of the state और after his death his son will take the place और कोई उसका रिलेटिव तो वो एक उनके hereditary follow out किया जाता है तो that is called hereditary executive. Elective, this type of executive is functioning in England, Norway. ये वाले hereditary executive are functioning in these countries. In countries where the head of state is elected by people or by the representative, उस system को कहते हैं elective executive क्योंकि elective किया जा रहा है, election के through are being selection taking place. So we find this system in India, France, West Germany, Italy, USA, Australia and Pakistan. Function of the executives. Here are the functions कि executive के क्या functions है. Administrative कि इन एवरी कंट्री जो हेड ऑफ द स्टेट होता है, काउंसिल ऑफ मिनिस्टर्स होते हैं, दे आर रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर द मेंटेनेंस ऑफ लॉ एंड ऑर्डर. दे आर प्रमोटेड, डिमोटेड एंड डिसमिस अंडर द सिविल सर्विस रूल्स. लेजिस्लेटिव उनका रोल प्ले होता है क्योंकि जनरली लॉ मेकिंग इज द रिस्पॉन्सिबल ऑफ द लेजिस्लेचर, बट इन एवरी कंट्री द एग्जीक्यूटिव हैज एन इंपॉर्टेंट रोल टू प्ले इन द मेकिंग ऑफ द लॉज. जो एग्जीक्यूटिव है वो प्रिपेयर करते हैं बिल्स एंड इंट्रोड्यूस करते हैं लेजिस्लेचर में कि वो अप्रूव करें इसको. देयर इज अ पार्लियामेंट्री गवर्नमेंट इन इंग्लैंड, इंडिया एंड ऑल दीज. द लीडर ऑफ द मेजोरिटी पार्टी बिकम्स प्राइम मिनिस्टर. जिस मेजोरिटी पार्टी का जो मेजोरिटी पार्टी होती है उसका लीडर प्राइम मिनिस्टर बन जाता है. ही हैज इन्फ्लुएंस ऑन बोथ द ऑर्गन्स ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट, लेजिस्लेचर एंड एग्जीक्यूटिव. इन दोनों ऑर्गन्स पे ही हैज इन्फ्लुएंस, ही हैज पास. द मिनिस्टर्स आर आल्सो इंपॉर्टेंट मेंबर्स ऑफ द पार्लियामेंट, देयरफॉर दे टू हैव सफिशिएंट इन्फ्लुएंस ऑन द लेजिस्लेचर. जो एग्जीक्यूटिव हैं, दे हैज नॉट ओनली दिस मच रोल टू प्ले इन द फ्रेमिंग ऑफ द लॉ, बट मोर देन दैट कि लॉ पास किया जाता है लेजिस्लेचर से एंड दैट कैन बी vetoed by the president. This is a practice in India and the USA. Besides, the president has the right to issue ordinance. This practice also exists in India. Military function in almost all the countries. जो president है वो क्या कहते हैं अपॉइंट करते हैं. He is the head of the state and he is the supreme commander of the armed force and has the power to promote, demote and dismiss high military officer. He himself or with the consent of the parliament declare war or peace. USA में president can declare war or peace with the consent of the Congress. In India, though this right has been given to the president under the constitution, it is used by him as many times asked by UGC net exam कि who is responsible for declaring war and peace and who appoint the military forces and all that. तो president करता है. And as this there is an example कि President Radhakrishnan declared the emergency but on the advice of the late Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. जो emergency continued की गई थी 1968 तक. So no emergency was declared in India during the Indo-Pak War of 1965. On 3rd December 1971, Pakistan attacked India and the President Shri V.V. Giri declared an emergency which continued till March 1977. Foreign relation is also established political relation with foreign countries. Our government has established political or commercial relations. So this is also the function of the executive. Financial functions भी executive के अंडर आते हैं. Though the legislature control the national finance, but executive prepares करते हैं budgets and tries to get it passed by the legislature. Last is judiciary. According to Dr. Garner, there is no better test of excellence of a government than the efficiency of its judicial system. बिना judicial system के society नहीं develop हो सकती और society में human behavior को अच्छे से develop नहीं किया जा सकता. So judiciary is essential for maintaining peace and imparting justice and also for enjoyment of fundamental rights. तो इट इंटरप्रेट्स द लॉ. जुडिशरी में इंटरप्रेट्स किए जाते हैं लॉ क्योंकि जो केसेस होते हैं दैट ब्रॉट बिफोर द जजेस इन विच द क्वेश्चन ऑफ द इंटरप्रेशन टेक प्लेस एंड दीज डिसीजन आर कोटेड इन सिमिलर केसेस. इन दिस वे कोर्ट एक्सपेंड द लॉज इन एन इनडायरेक्ट मैनर और इनडायरेक्ट मैनर. प्रोटेक्ट करते हैं सिविल राइट्स को क्योंकि पीपल आर गिवन मेनी राइट्स बाय द स्टेट थ्रू द लॉज ऑफ द पार्लियामेंट. द कोर्ट्स प्रोटेक्ट दीज राइट्स. डिसाइड करते हैं कौन सा केस किस क्या है बिटवीन द स्टेट है बिटवीन द गवर्नमेंट है. दिस टू बी डिसाइडेड इन द जुडिशरी. कस्टोडियन ऑफ फंडामेंटल राइट्स. कस्टोडियन होते हैं फंडामेंटल राइट्स के कि कौन से राइट प्रोटेक्ट करने हैं, कौन से राइट सिटीजन्स को देने हैं, कौन से राइट गवर्नमेंट की खुद के रोल ऑफ प्ले आउट हैं. तो क्वेश्चन ऑफ द आइसोलेशन ऑफ द फंडामेंटल राइट वॉज इन्वॉल्व इन दिस. Guardian of the Constitution. Of course, if a law passed by the Parliament violates the Constitution, that law shall be declared as a void because जो custodian is the highest law of the land and it is the duty of the court to protect it. तो जो भी law है, जो भी rules निकाले जाते हैं, वो court के through protect किए जाते हैं. The judiciary branch act as an advisory body. The Supreme Court has been given the right in the Constitution to render advice on legal matters when asked for by the president. So this was all about the functions of the organs of the government. Thank you so much for watching this video.